There is a saying among the Kurds, no friends but the mountains. For indeed, the world has scarcely noticed when century after century, conqueror after conqueror has driven these once nomadic tribes deep within their beloved mountains to preserve their culture, their language, and their lives.
The young women within the Kurdish groups, they're from very different parts of Kurdistan. They're from different territories that have been occupied by different powers, that have been occupied by different means, whether bombardment or whether chemical attacks or forced oppression or a forced silencing of who we are, whether they're not allowed to speak their culture or their language. What ties us the most, though, is that we all have very different stories. Our stories are all very, very different. We can sit there and I can be, despite what I've seen personally, I can sit there and listen to a Kurdish woman and be horrified at what she's gone through.
Hidden in the shadows of history, resistance against repression became the Kurdish way of life, until atrocities inflicted by a dictator named Saddam Hussein sent shockwaves throughout the world, causing people of every nation to ask, who are the Kurds? For many, awareness arrived on Bloody Friday in March of 1988, when Saddam dropped poisonous gas on the Kurdish city of Halabja, killing 5,000 within minutes, followed by 7,000 more as the bombing continued for days. Halabja was not Saddam's only chemical attack against Iraq's Kurds. It was simply the worst, captured in all its horrific detail.
When the men are gone off in a war, or when the men are taken off in a genocide and killed, it's the Kurds women's role to maintain the household, to bring up the household, to act as narrator, to pass the story down. So even though history so much has been his story, his view, his events, the Kurdish woman herself, she's responsible for passing on the story, whether it's a family level, whether it's the story of the whole village or the whole country of what we've been through. I think for the Kurdish woman, she's underappreciated, yes, in her own culture, but I think even more so abroad.
To trace the history of the Kurds, one must begin at the beginning. For it was here, in the land some believe was once the Garden of Eden, that this resilient ancient people first left their mark upon the world. Nourished by the headwaters of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, archaeologists believe it was within this cradle of civilization that Kurdish ancestors first pioneered agriculture, animal husbandry, weaving, metalwork, and the making of pottery. For visitors, a trip through the land of the Kurds is a trip through biblical history. The great prophets Nahum, Jonah, Habakkuk, and Daniel are all buried within the vast borders of what came to be known as Kurdistan. At the end of World War I, the Kurds were finally promised independence with the dismantling of the Ottoman Empire and the creation of new nation-states. Instead, with the stroke of a pen, Kurdistan was parceled out among Turkey, Syria, Iran, and Iraq. Today, the world's 30 million Kurds, equivalent to the population of Canada, make up the largest ethnic group in existence without a recognized state of their own.
As a people, we're so determined for our own state, but I think because of our own struggles and those who have tried to put us down themselves, we've become so much more tolerant of other groups within Kurdistan. I know myself, I'm from Zoho and Duhok. Zoho has a very significant Christian population. There's a very significant Assyrian population, and they're actually living within the city itself, and they're an integral part of the city just because there is no boundaries in Kurdistan so much.
The Kurds are an ancient people who've lived their entire lives at the crossroads of the world, accustomed to living with people of many different religions. Today, as in the days of old, you'll find in the hearts of the Kurdish people ethnic and religious tolerance.
Anyone who destroys a house of God, doesn't matter if it is a Muslim or a Christian house of worship, that person is evil, and I do believe it is immoral. They have been here and their temples have been here for hundreds of years. We have many Christian refugees who escaped death and came to Kurdistan from other parts of Iraq.
So long before these countries have been imposed on our natural way of life, Kurds have a continuum of who we are, who our identity is, and so long before Iraq was carved out among us, so long before Syria took some of the Kurds away, long before Turkey was imposed, long before Iran even came to the picture, I think for Kurds we've been here a long time. We will continue to be here for as long as we remember who we are.
In the cities of Kurdistan, you'll see not only Kurds, but Arabs, Turkmen, Assyrians, Armenians, Chaldeans, Shia, Sunni, all living peacefully side by side, because this is who they are. This is how Kurdistan has always been.
Kurdistan is not so much a melting pot, but it's a mosaic of so many different cultures. Diversity is in fact represented in our clothes, in our day-to-day interactions, in the group of friends you keep. The reason we wanted to do this fashion show is to show just that. The color of our dresses, they're at one with the natural world. We try to take it to the next level where we blend everything together. It's something you would see in, like, say, a pastoral landscape. It's every little bit of color that you can incorporate, you do it because it matches your spirit, it matches how much you want to dance, how much you want to be with your people. So the Kurdish dance is at times slow. It's a slow appreciation of music, but for the majority of the part it's fast. It's expressive, it's very energetic. It's an appreciation for the breath we have right now, and it's also a celebration of what's to come. And it's a reaffirmation of that no matter what the day brings, we're going to be here and we're most likely going to dance no matter what happens. So the Kurdish dance is it's a perfect circle. Sometimes there's 2-3 dances going on at once. There's a respect for the different dances. Within the circle, men and women are on an equal footing. A woman might lead the dance. There's a very distinct role for the person leading the dance. They're often one of the very best dancers at the gathering. They're very creative. They have a deep appreciation for that one dance. You can't lead a dance where it's not your favorite dance. So the leader of the dance changes from men to women, from young to old. You gain or you earn that spot by your creativity, by your drive. It's a celebration within you that you bring to the forefront. You might be thousands of miles away from Kurdistan, but in that moment, in that circle, it's like you never left and you'll never leave. Kurdish dance, it's a perfect example of a democracy. You all want to be there and you rely on the person next to you and the person on either side of you. Because the group, the dance, is only as lively as its strongest or its weakest member. So you carry each other, but you also carry yourself. through the dance.